Yo, what's up, guys? We're back. We're doing another breakdown and predictions video. This week we got Cory Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov in the main event, which is just a phenomenal fight. And throughout the whole card, we got a great card. It seems like now that they got this deal with the Middle East is giving them a lot of money, and they're asking for some big time fights and good fight cards. So whenever they go over there, you're going to get a very deep stacked card with some good names. It's going to be a fun night of fights to watch. I mean, this week we were going to get Tony Ferguson and Nick Diaz. I mean, two of the biggest names in the sport in the last 10 years, even though obviously they're on the way downside on the same card. So it just shows the type of business that they're trying to do over here on these type of fight cards, and definitely excited to watch this one. It's going to be a really early start time, so you guys got to remember that. I think the fight starts at like 7. The fight started at 7 a.m. Eastern time, but check them out, and I'm excited to break them down. I think we're going to make some money on this fight card. I got a few bets. I feel like overall this fight card isn't the greatest betting-wise, but there's a couple spots that I do like quite a bit, some underdog spots, and we've been hitting some underdogs, man, recently. I mean, last week we got Bruno Brazil, we got Hadley, both over plus 200 dogs, so man, go to patreon.com/impression support the channel, get yourself some access to different promotions, content on different promotions, write-ups, bets, and then these UFC bets as well, man. And outside of that, hit the like button on this video. I would really appreciate some likes, man. Try to get to 100 likes. That would be best case scenario. That would be awesome if you guys could like this video. And put some comments down below, man. Let's get some interaction. I want to know what you guys think about the main event. Do you think it's too early for Umar, or you think he's going to go out there and, pass this test here? Because I think it's a very intriguing fight, and a fight that people are going to be on both sides of. But finally, just right before we start, Friday, I am going to be doing another live stream betting breakdown, which, man, you definitely should go over there and check those out. We've been making some people some money on those betting breakdowns. Everyone that's over there supporting in the chat, really appreciate you guys. And we're slowly but surely growing the show. I'm going to have a guest on Friday, so come check it out. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern, Friday. And we're going to be talking more from a betting perspective, give you guys some free bets, make you guys some money. So come check it out, have some fun, and join in the conversation there. But let's get in this first fight of the night here. Kicking it off is Cedricus Dumis versus Denis Tiuliulin. And this is a fight that was booked before. It got canceled, and now they're going to get it in here. I think last time Dumis had some visa issues, but I guess he's got that all cleared. Now he's going to be able to go to the Middle East and get this job done. And before, I believe the fight was going to be in UAE or another Middle Eastern country as well. So it's going to be kind of the same deal. And it's a fight where they're trying to get Dumis the win, right? I mean, Dumis, he's someone that outside the cage, I think he could end up, rooting his career a little bit. But, hopefully he keeps his nose clean. But outside of that, I mean, he's a decent prospect because he has a fun style to watch in terms of his stand-up is kind of awkward, but he has that knockout power and he has the length. He's athletic, and then he's rounding out his grappling. So I think they see him as, maybe someone they could build a raw prospect. And Tiuliulin, 11-9, 3 losses in a row. They're always giving him very hard fights, and they're trying to kind of put him in a position where he's going to take the loss. But they know that he's going to go in there, fight hard, get a fun fight out of it, and he usually is a kill or be killed type of guy. But this one, I feel like it could go longer, and I like that angle on the fight in terms of a betting perspective more than anything else. The over, maybe Dumis by decision. I feel like the stand-up, it's going to be very low volume. Tiuliulin is going to be trying to come forward and pressure like he always does, but Dumis is long. He's going to be moving. I think he'll be landing some kicks and just being a little bit more active on the outside and avoiding the brawling from Tiuliulin. And when Tiuliulin gets on the inside, I think Dumis is going to body lock him, try to take him down. And if he can get on top, I think he can control him. But Dumis isn't really a big finisher from the top position on the ground. We've seen him with Cody Brundage and another fight with Zatar, I believe, where when he got on top, he didn't really do too much. He's more of just holding you to win the round, and I could see him doing that once again here. either guy could get a knockout, though, because I do feel like Dumis is still raw on the feet. If Liliane gets on the inside, maybe he could brawl it out and get the job done, and Dumis could catch Liliane as he's coming in. But Liliane's usually pretty durable. Most of the time when he loses, it's via submission, and I feel like Dumis doesn't have that great submission threat. I do think a submission prop for Dumis isn't bad, though, because obviously he has long arms. I do think there's going to be some wrestling grappling in his game plan, and Liliane has been submitted quite a few times, so maybe that's like a sneaky prop, but I do think it's going to go probably over, and I'm going to say Dumis wins via decision. And this next fight, personally, I don't have a lot of interest in this one. I feel like it's a pure pass from a betting perspective. You're looking at Jai Herbert, 36 years old. He's coming back from a year-long plus layoff. That's obviously not a good look. And I feel like he kind of was showing some signs of slowing down even before he took this time off. He's coming off that loss that he had to Farziem, and he's obviously had some great performances in the UFC where he dropped Ilya. He has, I believe, gotten a nice knockout, but he's had to fight really tough guys, and his career just hasn't panned out as well as he probably thought it would have. But his opponent here, Rolando Bedoya, coming down from 170 to 155, which is significant because I do think he was a very small welterweight. This weight class is probably going to suit him much better. And Bedoya is a younger guy, so he has that advantage, but he's also coming off a layoff, and we're going to see how these guys look. I mean, I feel like Bedoya looked really bad his last fight versus Song, so that has me a little sour on him. I mean, he just didn't pull the trigger. Seemed like he was waiting for the power of Song to land and didn't like getting hit too much, so he just went into a shell defensively, didn't do much. And Herbert has that ability. He's lengthy, and he could, move around. Bedoya is more of a guy that wants to get on the inside and let his hands go with the boxing. He does have pretty crisp hands, decent combinations. But I feel like if Herbert is countering him well, it could really minimize what Bedoya does. And Bedoya he can wrestle. I've seen in other fights, but I just don't know if he has that ability to do it at this level. And I feel like Herbert is going to be the one that tries to bring on that wrestling. His team Renegade, they like to push you against the cage, try to take you down a lot. Obviously, Leon has that style. So I'm kind of leaning towards Jai Herbert just because I feel like he'll land the bigger punches, be able to control the pace with his power, and kind of have the range advantage, and maybe even have some moments where he's holding Bedoya up against the fence. But I don't trust Herbert at all. I feel like Herbert could come in here and look washed up, with the layoff. I feel like he already was kind of slowing down a little bit, and his chin is a little bit questionable. If it becomes a war or a really tough, high-paced fight, I favor Bedoya in that. So I think it's a close one, but I'm going to lean with Jai Herbert here to get the victory. And up next here, we got the first female fight that I know of in UFC history in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE. So, man, I'm curious to see how the crowd's going to react to this fight, if there's going to be cheering still or it's going to be dead. But, yeah, I feel like Sam Hughes, she's just completely average. She's someone that the UFC brings in to test these young prospects, and if you can't get over Sam Hughes, you're probably not even UFC level. I mean, Sam Hughes, she has good cardio. She's big for the weight, and she'll pressure forward. She doesn't really have great striking. I mean, she doesn't really pose much offensive striking. She'll throw some hands occasionally, but I feel like Dudakova is a lot smoother and sleeker on the feet, a lot better. She has actually decent 1-2s, and her footwork is good. It's just going to be, if she gets tired, out striking and out fighting Sam Hughes, who doesn't get tired, and that's kind of Sam Hughes' path to victory in all her fights. She uses her experience, her ability to absorb damage, keep pressuring forward, and then she's average at everything. She can hold you against the cage. She has decent physicality. She could take you down, control you. Her top game is probably the best aspect because she has good submission defense, good top control. But she's nothing spectacular. And for Dudakova, she has a lot more potential, but Dudakova has been struggling to get to the cage. She's been fighting with staff and other things, and just I feel like she's not the most trustworthy. She totally gassed her last fight. I do believe if she comes in here in great shape, no injuries, nothing going on, and uses her skill set, she's going to be a lot faster. She's going to be able to time the takedowns. Sam Hughes comes, forward, back, straight line. She's very square. And I feel like Dudakova is just going to be a lot more fluid. She's going to have better skills everywhere. And she's just going to have to know that you're probably going to have to go 15 minutes. So don't go pushing a crazy pace early that you're not going to be able to keep. And I think that you'll get the victory. So Dudakova should win this fight. But I do think there's some question marks. I mean, she doesn't have a ton of experience, but I see her beating Sam Hughes, honestly. And for this next fight, I'm really looking forward to this one. This is an awesome fight. Guram Kutateladze is making his comeback, taking on Jordan Vucinic. And Guram, his main issue in the UFC has really been inactivity, but on top of that, I don't know what it is. I feel like he might be cutting too much weight. Not too sure, but seems like his durability isn't super great, and he's not the highest volume guy, and I could see that maybe due to the weight cut. He does seem like a big fighter for 155, but he's still really, 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 really good. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. This is a must-win for him, so I think he's going to be coming in looking sharp, and he's taking on an opponent that's coming in on short notice, Jordan Vucinic, who is a former Cage Warriors world champion. He's a high-level guy. He actually just had a fight and won in the first round pretty recently. So although he's coming in on short notice, hopefully he stayed in good shape after that victory, and he hasn't had a lot of time to get out of shape and eat and, get into those bad habits. It's like a pretty quick turnaround. And he didn't take a lot of damage in that fight whatsoever. So I think it's a good spot for Vucinic, honestly, but you're looking at it stylistically, I think on the feet, Guram is going to have the edge. I think his jab is going to be very telling in the fight. I feel like that's going to dictate a lot, and I feel like he just has the better hands. Jordan is very explosive, and he's good at closing that distance, and he has decent straight punches as well, good knees, but I just feel like he's the more hittable of the two guys. Guram has really good defense, good pressure. He has one of the best clinch games, I feel, in the division in terms of offensive weapons, elbows, knees. And he just needs to up his volume a little bit and either become a little bit more defensively responsible, maybe try to figure out a better weight cut, better way to weight cut. But I feel like his durability is a little questionable. He did get finished his last fight. It was kind of a weird finish, but he got knocked out, and it was like kind of a strange reaction. And I do feel like Guram, his takedown defense is elite. We've seen that against really high-level grapplers. And Vucinic is someone that wants to get it to the ground. He wants to try to submit you, and he's really high-level from top position, which I don't really see him getting in this fight. I feel like his takedowns are going to be negated. If he does get a takedown, Guram will be able to pop back up. So I just think Guram's going to come in here. He has his back against the wall with these 2 losses, taking on a short notice opponent. He knows he has to win this one to maintain his job, I feel like. So I see him having a good fight, using the jab, being offensive, coming forward, and getting a victory. So give me Guram Kutateladze to win via decision. And for this next fight, we got Shamil Gaziev taking on Dontel Mays. This is going to be a heavyweight scrap. And Shamil Gaziev coming back here after that really bad performance versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He was kind of in prime position to become a contender in the division if he won that fight. And it was a main event, but he totally gassed out and basically showed that he's not at that level yet. So now he's getting Dontel Mays, who's kind of a lower level heavyweight trying to rebuild. Mays coming off a victory, so Mays has that momentum coming in here. And this is Mays' opportunity to get this win and then get another chance at top 15. So both these guys are kind of fighting for that same thing. They want to get back into that top 15 range. and the winner is going to be able to do that here. And I do see this as a close fight. I feel like in the first round, Gaziev is at his most dangerous, and that's obvious. Everyone that has ever watched him fight is going to say that. But he's going to have to close the distance and try to use those hands and get Mays out of there early, I feel like, or he's not going to justify his price tag, because we've seen him get tired, and his takedown game is decent. He has a good single, but I think Mays actually has underrated wrestling. His get-ups are okay for heavyweight, too. He's not like an easy guy to take down and control. So I think that Gaziev, if he has trouble holding Mays against the cage or taking him down, which I think that holding Mays against the cage is going to be the easier route for Gaziev. It's going to take less energy, and I think that he could do it a little bit more effectively. Mays sometimes will just get lazy and let himself get pushed against the fence, but I think if Mays can make it difficult for Gaziev in the first 6-7 minutes of the fight and make him work to get the takedowns, get back up if he does get taken down, stay moving, he's going to be the more fluid striker down the stretch. He's going to have more offense, I believe. He trains at elevation. His cardio is usually on point in his fights, and I think this is going to go over, honestly. I mean, Mays is someone that doesn't usually get knocked out. He has a good chin. And Gaziev, I think he's going to struggle to get the takedowns and get on top. And I feel like Mays is going to just be moving backwards, trying to touch him up, maybe coming in with a couple 1-2s and things like that. And it's going to be a low-volume kind of pot shot type of fight for Mays, where I think he'll take the second and third and win a decision here. So I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Donto Mays to win this fight. And for this next one, we got a really low-level fight. We got two guys that lost their UFC debuts trying to get their first victories in the company. Muhamad Yaya, he's someone that is from the UAE and a local fighter, so that's why they're putting him on this card. And he's taking on Caillou Fernandez, who had a tough first fight in Mark Chiesa for his UFC debut and lost a decision in that one, but I feel like he didn't look the greatest. And both these guys I'm not too impressed with. I feel like Yaya maybe is a little bit better technically, but he's a much worse athlete. And in his debut, he just didn't pull the trigger. It looked like he had a big issue with UFC jitters. And I don't know how he's going to react coming into this fight, if he's going to be gun-shy once again. But Fernandez is really dangerous in the first round with his kicking game. He has a dynamic kicking game. He can land body kicks, head kicks, and finish you with those strikes. And he's long and rangy, and he can kind of use that to move in and out of range and kind of show his explosiveness, straight punches. But he doesn't have a lot of offense if you walk him down and make him go backwards. He will mix in some takedowns early, and I feel like his body locks maybe could be effective when he's fresh with Yaya. It's just if he's going to be able to maintain the cardio to keep going back to that in the second and third, if he can't get the back and get the finish or something. But Fernandez, most of his wins are first-round finishes, and most of his wins are really low level. I feel like Yaya has better victories. He's fought tougher guys, more experience. But Yaya comes forward, he'll throw 1-2s, and he likes to push you against a fence, try to take you down. I feel like he has a chance to get the upset in this one, but I'm just not totally sold on him. Don't have a super in-depth breakdown in this one. I'm not really too fond of either guy. I don't have a lot of trust in either guy. If I'm looking at it from a perspective where I wanted to bet on the fight, I think it's a clear dog or pass with Yaya. But prediction-wise, I'll predict Fernandez wins this one just off athleticism and having a little bit more potential. Maybe he'll show up and perform a little bit better. I don't know how Yaya's going to perform under the lights this time. And Fernandez, he didn't have a horrible performance against Chiesa early, so I think that at least he'll show up and bring his skills. So I'm going to lean Fernandez, but total pass for me and not a fight that I have a lot of confidence in. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. Who do you guys prefer in this fight? Who do you think is going to win? And do you have a strong lean? Because I'm kind of struggling with this prediction. And closing out the prelims, we got Osmat Mirzakhanov taking on Alonzo Menafield. I really like this fight. Two dangerous strikers with knockout power. Mirzakhanov, southpaw. He is one of the smaller guys for the weight class, but he uses that to his advantage because he's very explosive, very quick, closes that distance very fast, extremely fast hands, good kicks, and he's just always coiled, ready to catch you as you're coming in. He's pressuring you. He's a very solid striker. He's powerful, and he's definitely getting better with his takedown defense, his grappling defense. You saw his fight with Tufan and Chukwi, and then you see his fights now. I feel like he's improved pretty significantly. And Alonzo Menifield has gotten way better as well. I still feel like he's not necessarily the most technical striker, but has gotten a lot better with his composure. He's improved his cardio, and he hits hard. So he comes forward, he waits for his opportunities, and then he tries to land that check hook, tries to land the big overhand. You'll blitz in. He has big thudding kicks. So Menifield brings an element where if you make a mistake, he's going to take you out, and he's usually fairly durable and has the cardio to be there for 15 minutes in recent fights. And also his wrestling is good. He has good wrestling, and he's dangerous on top. That's probably his best facet. If he's in top position, he'll rain elbows. He's shown a decent submission game. So if I'm Menifield, the game plan for me is going to be to try to wrestle early, wrestle hard, push Mirzakhanov against the fence, try to wear on those muscles, get him down, put him on his back, see what he looks like there, and slow him down for the rest of the fight and kind of just try to use that size and physicality to get the victory, because I think at distance, Mirzakhanov is going to be a lot craftier, a lot faster, and I don't like how fast that Menifield is coming back after that knockout loss to Carlos Ulberg. He's coming back very quickly, and I would assume that, he got knocked out, within the first exchange of the fight really fast, came forward, made a mistake being too wild, and probably wants to rectify that quickly and get that bad taste out of his mouth. But you also have to think about the damage that you took in that fight and how you're going to bounce back with your chin and everything. So I feel like there's some question marks still with Menifield and how he's going to look in this fight against a power hitter. So could see him being a little bit timid. Maybe could see him getting knocked out again. And I feel like Mirzakhanov is just getting better, even though he's a little bit older. I think he still has room to improve and could potentially move up into that upper tier in the weight class. So give me Mirzakhanov in this one, and actually give me Mirzakhanov to win via knockout. Man, talk about a fucking banger to start off the main card. Joel Alvarez is making his return after a year-plus long layoff, taking on Elvis Brennen, who's kind of leapt onto the UFC radar and turned into one of these dogs that people have to deal with in the division. And this is a hell of a matchup, man. I mean, both these guys bring the violence. They come in there to take their opponent out, and they're all gas, no brakes, looking for that finish. So this is going to be an absolute car crash, and I'm, really looking forward to seeing what happens. But on the feet, Alvarez, his size is just such a factor, man. The guy's maybe the biggest fighter at 155, and he's missed weight a few times, so hopefully he gets the weight cut under control. The same thing for Brennen. I feel like Brennen has tough weight cuts too, but Alvarez is a very big guy for the weight. He comes forward, very composed, and he's not necessarily the greatest striker at distance, but he'll throw these front kicks. He'll kind of stab you with these long shots, and his reach and length really is very beneficial for him. And then he has a good chin. Like I said, he stays composed, so if he eats a shot, he doesn't panic and try to get it back or react kind of wildly. And then when he backs you up and gets you in that clinch range or that dirty boxing range, he's phenomenal there, man. He's explosive, big knees, big elbows. He'll take you out with huge power shots, and just is shown to be very dynamic there. And he's good at using his pressure and using his kind of posture and just his size and the energy that he's bringing you to make you want to shoot on him. And then when you shoot on him, he has an excellent guard. He'll choke you out. He'll throw up submissions and finish you. So that's kind of his game plan. He wants to pressure you hard, get you to take a bad shot, and then submit you after you shoot on him. So with Brennen, though, I don't know if that's going to be the best game plan, because I think that if Alvarez accepts bottom position on Elvis Brennen, a guy that trains with Shootbox Diego Limas, Charles Oliveira, and a ton of other extremely high-level grapplers throwing up submissions on him from their backs on the daily, more than likely, I just don't see him getting caught. He has 11 submissions, no submission losses, so Brennen knows what he's doing in terms of jiu-jitsu as well. And on the feet, Brennen is very hittable, but he comes forward, he throws that check hook, he has decent ability to make fights a brawl and then get the better of it, and just elite cardio and very, very elite durability and heart. We've seen him get cut open really bad and still come back and win fights. And I think his wrestling is getting better. He's getting better at mixing and blending in those body locks. And I see that potentially being the difference in this fight. I think that the underdog in Brennen is going to be able to mix in some takedowns, get some top control, and nullify that grappling of Alvarez. I see Alvarez being way too content on his back trying to lock up submissions because that's what's got him most of his wins. But I think that confidence in this matchup is going to lead to his loss. So I see Brennen mixing it up, getting some takedowns. He might take some damage. It might be a war on the feet where you have to hold your breath. But I think the ability of Brennen to wrestle and maybe just have slightly higher fight IQ is going to get him the win. And in this next one, we pretty much got a coin flip fight on the money line, and I tend to agree. I think this is a very close fight. Mackenzie Dern and Godinez. Both these girls are they're definitely threats in their top 15 level, but they've just been up and down with their performances, have not had consistency in the UFC, and haven't really reached the heights that maybe people thought. But this fight, it's a pivotal fight for them because I feel like the winner is going to be able to stick around and be a viable contender, where the loser is going to be in a weird spot for their career. But Lupi, she did decent against Virna, to be honest. I mean, she was able to win a lot of the wrestling exchanges. It was just bad fight IQ again, which has been the issue with Lupi in a lot of fights, where she just made these mental errors and not competed in the areas where it would have been best for her, and it cost her the loss. Like, she went for leg locks and engaged in the grappling with Jandaroba, where if she didn't do that, I feel like potentially she could have gotten that victory. So just some mental errors. But Mackenzie Dern, her last fight was also against a really tough fighter, and it was a great fight where she got hurt really bad but won the majority of the fight. It's just she took the loss because she didn't do as much damage. But when you look at how these two girls stylistically match up, I feel like the striking is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think people overrate Godinez's striking. She has good boxing and she has good power in her hands, but her reach is, she has a short arms, and she really struggles to close that distance. Her style, I think, is way too boxing oriented, and she's not necessarily that greatest athlete to close the gap. So if you can move around and not brawl with her, then her striking is not really too effective. She's not that high volume either. And in this fight, I don't think her wrestling is going to be something she wants to use. I don't see her trying to get takedowns, and if she does, I see her getting swept or put in a submission and either getting finished or losing that round just by being defensive on top throughout the whole time that she's there. For Dern, she just has to try to avoid brawling, which is a lot easier said than done for her. I mean, it seems like she devolves into a brawl in every fight, but I do think that she's getting better skills-wise. It's just, I don't know if she's showing it. Like, I think her striking is getting better. I feel like she's the more athletic girl in this matchup. She throws straighter punches. I feel like she has the better footwork, and she's going to be moving around and making it hard for Lupi to get her offense going in the stand-up. And I'm going to slightly edge it to Dern, man. I mean, I don't have a great conviction on this one, but I just feel like Dern is going to be the more athletic girl. She's going to go for a little bit more, throw a little bit more volume. You saw her fight with Jessica Andrade. It was competitive on the feet. She just couldn't take the power, and I don't know if Lupi's going to match that power. I feel like Dern will eat her shots better, and if Lupi makes those mental mistakes again, engages in the grappling, I think Dern will be able to bank around off that. So I feel like Dern is going to be the pick for me slightly here. So like I said, not a lot of conviction on this one. This is not one of my more confident predictions, but I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern to win this one. And for this next fight, Tony Ferguson taking on Michael Chiesa. Pretty easy fight to predict, in my opinion. Nah, man. I mean, I'm not going to give a breakdown for this one. Just as a pick, obviously I'm going to have an extremely biased pick, so don't tell me on this one. I'm going with Tony by submission in this one. I feel like he'll be able to pressure Chiesa. Chiesa will take a bad shot. He'll snatch the neck and get him out of there. He's coming up to welterweight to get that title run, so let's go, Tony. Tony's going to get that finish, first round Darce here. So, yeah, man, not a fight that I'm really looking forward to too much. But yeah, I'll say Tony gets a job done. Moving along through the card, I think we got the two other guys that are potentially part of this like bantamweight bracket to get a title shot next. If Cheeto wins and O'Malley wins, or even if Cheeto wins, I think in general he's not going to get a title shot. But for Davis and Figueiredo, I could see this being a potential title eliminator if he goes out there and looks really good, because obviously Cheeto just fought Sean O'Malley for the belt. Davison is a former champ. He's moving up. Him and O'Malley have talked back and forth before, and I could see them thinking that that's a good stylistic matchup for O'Malley. If O'Malley can get by Merab, maybe he could get a decent big-time fight with Figueiredo going. So I could see that being the direction that they go. But Figueiredo's going to have to get the win here for that to happen, right? And these guys have been talking about fighting each other for a while. I feel like they've had a lot of trash talk on social media, and a lot of it was in the, distant past, but they're going to get in there. Someone's going to settle it. They're both confident. I feel like with Cheeto, man, we're going to have to see how he comes back from all that damage his last fight. I feel like that was like a big damaging fight. That could have been like a Tony Ferguson versus Gaethje type of fight, man. I mean, we'll see how he looks in this next one. It's not like he's that old, but I'm definitely a little bit worried about if Cheeto's going to want to pull the trigger in this fight and how he's going to look in terms of taking shots and everything like that. Obviously, he still has that iron chin, but there's some question marks there for me. But when I'm looking at this fight from a stylistic perspective, I feel like Figueiredo's been implementing his wrestling a lot more at 135, and he feels his cardio is going to be able to last more at that weight class, so he's able to do it, and that's going to be his path to victory in this fight, I believe. Use that footwork, use that movement. He's going to be a lot faster guy, a lot more dynamic mover in terms of lateral movement and things like that. Obviously, Cheeto just like someone that walks you down like a Terminator. But Figueiredo's going to have to move around. He can't let Cheeto get in a range where he's in that clinch range, or even if he's in that punching range, because I feel like Vera's going to have a pretty significant advantage in terms of durability. And if Vera starts to land his shots, Cheeto is going to probably get Figueiredo out of there. So Cheeto definitely has a high finishing upside, I think a lot higher than Figueiredo. But Figueiredo has a clear path to victory, I believe, with moving around, using that footwork, getting Cheeto frustrated, maybe tagging him, pot shotting him with a couple quick shots, and then timing those level changes, getting on top. And Cheeto just doesn't have great get-ups. He doesn't have the best urgency to stand back up. And he isn't necessarily dangerous off bottom. I mean, he's gotten some of the submissions against guys back in the day, but recently it just hasn't materialized for him. And I feel like Figueiredo could take him down and hold him down, and just has more tools to win a decision. And 3 rounds clearly favors Figueiredo. Cheeto's one of these guys that a lot of his recent fights that he did win during his win streak, if they were 5 rounds, he would have taken the loss, and he got the finish in the 4th or the 5th, or kind of took over in those rounds. So I just feel like Figueiredo is going to be able to just win this on activity, being able to hit takedowns, being the more athletic guy in the stand-up, and I just don't know if Cheeto's going to come back like his old self. And he tended to start slow and kind of not do a lot in his fights before, and now after taking all that damage, I could see it, even being a bigger factor in this fight, and him being even more like off the gas. So Cheeto's gonna have to prove to me that he's still a top contender by beating Figueiredo here, and due to that, I'm gonna go with Figueiredo to get this victory. And in the co-main event, we got Shara Magomedov. He's being showcased here against Michal Oleksiejczuk, but I got Shara Magomedov on upset alert this week, and I think that Michal is going to get this victory. I feel like Shara Magomedov is a little bit overrated. He has a great look and undefeated. He's definitely a high-level striker, but like we saw in a couple of these fights last week where there was high-level strikers with, Arnold Allen, Leon, and Bilal, Michal's not going to bring that wrestling threat, but I feel like if he can implement that same game plan that Arnold Allen did on Giga, maybe take some damage in the first round, be smart, and then start to walk your guy down, beat him up, use that southpaw boxing, go to work, it's going to be effective. I feel like Magomedov, he likes to pot shot and move, and he's not necessarily the greatest off the back foot. I feel like Michal, he's good at putting that pressure on guys, putting his combinations together, backing you up, and we've seen him do well against explosive strikers, good kickers before, like Chidi and Jaquani, like Dustin Jacoby, even in a losing effort, he had a good fight there. And I feel like he's going to be able to pressure through the kicks a bullet, and I don't really trust Umar Nurmagomedov's hands in a boxing fight with Mia. I feel like Mia could wear him down with the body shots as well as the pressure, and Nurmagomedov isn't going to have a threat to take him down or submit him, which is what Mia has really struggled with throughout his career. And I think Mia could even put Nurmagomedov on the cage, control him, maybe even get a takedown or two. And when Mia gets on top, his ground and pound is serious. So I feel like this guy, he's fighting for his career. This is the last fight on his contract. He has to get the win here. He's probably going to get his walking papers. And he's getting a gigantic opportunity. I mean, they're putting him in the co-main event of a big card on ABC. And he's fighting a guy that people are hyped up on right now. So if he can go in there and take this guy's hype, then Michał Oleksiejczuk, man, I mean, I think he definitely could get another contract in the UFC. So it's a big fight for him, and I think he's going to get the job done, man. I mean, this guy's beaten Caillou Roundtree as well, and I just think he does good against kicking styles. He could pressure him, and I think that Nurmagomedov's going to get tired. I think that Miao's going to outbox him and outstrike him. I get that Miao hasn't had a lot of success in fights that have gone outside of round one himself in the UFC, but he's had some close decisions, and when it's a striking fight, I don't see him gassing, and I don't think Nurmagomedov is going to bring that wrestling threat to get Michał tired. So I just see Oleksiejczuk's pressure and boxing outweighing the kicks of Nurmagomedov and him getting the victory here. And I could see him getting the victory inside the distance as well. And finally, we got an amazing main event. Cory Sandhagen taking on Umar Nurmagomedov. And first of all, just shout out to Cory Sandhagen for accepting this fight, giving Umar this opportunity, and going out to UAE and taking this matchup, because not many guys are saying yes to Umar right now. He's way higher in the rankings. He's been in the UFC forever. He's an established top 5, top 10 guy, and he's putting the ladder down for Umar to potentially take his number and move into title contention. So Sandhagen definitely has courage of his convictions that he's the best in the world. I think that he thinks he can go out there, take the hype off Nurmagomedov, and either be the next guy in line or one fight away from a title shot. So both these guys have gold in their sights in the near future. And Sandhagen, though, he is coming off that year-long layoff after he tore his triceps in the fight with Rob Font, which I do think is a factor. I mean, 32 years old at bantamweight isn't the youngest. Now he's coming back off that injury. Hopefully he performs and looks the same as he did in previous fights, but he could potentially, struggle with the wrestling or just look a little off with the layoff and the injury and everything like that. This being his first fight back, he doesn't have an easy fight to knock the rust off with. But Umar Nurmagomedov, he hasn't been that frequent of a fighter in the UFC, but he's been unbeaten in everything that he's done so far, 17-0, and been pretty dominant. And he's earned this opportunity. I believe he's like 5 or 6-0 in the UFC, maybe a little bit less fights than that, but pretty close, I believe. And man, I mean, stylistically, these are two of the best guys in the world in any weight class. There are not many holes in either of these fighters' games. I think obviously Sandhagen is the classier striker. He's the better striker overall, but Umar can hold his own in that facet as well. I think that Sandhagen is going to have to really pressure and try to make it more of a boxing match, because I do think he has the better hands. I feel like his jab is really good. He has one of the best jabs in that weight class. And if he can get the jab going and kind of use that ghost-like footwork and the range that he has to jab, be in and out, be countering Umar Nurmagomedov, kind of shutting down the kicks because you're always in his face and able to stuff the shots, then Sandhagen can kind of run away with it in the stand-up. But I think that Sandhagen is going to have to trust his wrestling offensively like he has in other fights recently in this fight as well. And that could sound a little bit weird to people because they obviously think that Nurmagomedov is an elite level wrestler. And I do agree with that. And I do think that Sandhagen has a bigger advantage on the feet. But Umar is someone that keeps that distance so well with that Taekwondo style. He has an ability to move in and out of range really effectively. So I think he can match that kind of distance and dance that Sandhagen likes to play, and it's going to be a really tricky fight for both guys in terms of finding their distance. And but ultimately, I think that Umar is going to have Cory very worried about taking him down. So I think that Cory's not going to let go as much on the feet. I mean, he might throw these flying knees and spin kicks, and I say that, and you look at his fights, like with Frankie Edgar, he threw the knee. With TJ Dillashaw, he was throwing a lot of crazy stuff, which did lead to him getting taken down and getting his back taken on the feet. But I feel like Cory, if he could take down Umar here and create some scrambles, win some scrambles, and early on kind of show Umar, hey, I could wrestle too, and you're not just going to be able to take me down and out-scramble me and easily wrestle me, it could kind of creep into Umar's head and he can make it more of a striking fight, especially with this being his first 5-round fight. If he thinks that it's going to be a lot of energy expenditure to take down and hold Sandhagen down and Sandhagen is wrestling him, maybe Umar will settle into making it more of a stand-up fight, and that'll be beneficial for Cory. But I just lean Nurmagomedov, man. I love Sandhagen's style. I think he's an elite level fighter. I think he has insane fight IQ, great cardio. The durability is there. He has elite striking. His wrestling is really good. He has good scrambles. He's hard to hold down. But matchup-wise, this is arguably, in my opinion, one of the hardest matchups for him in the division. He's always struggled with not being the most strong physical guy. He has gotten ragdolled a couple fights, and I just feel like Umar is going to be able to do a good job of knowing the range game like Sandhagen likes to do, and it's not going to be as big of an advantage for Sandhagen in that area. And I think that Umar is going to be able to get Sandhagen a little bit worried to strike, and if Sandhagen's going crazy early, I think Umar will get the takedowns and be able to control. But man, I mean, it's a pure dog or pass here on the line. You can't tell me that Sandhagen should be that big of an underdog, because Umar has never really fought someone at this level. He's never fought 5 rounds, and Sandhagen definitely is one of these elite level veterans that could come in here and take out a once-in-a-lifetime or extremely high-level undefeated prospect like Umar Nurmagomedov. So I think that it's a dog or pass, because I do think that Sandhagen has the experience, and if he comes in here, looks really sharp or has a great game plan, he can get the victory. But I just think it's a very hard style. I feel like Umar is one of the best guys in that division, period, and is going to be an issue for anyone because he just has an ability to use his kicks, his speed, and kind of be evasive. And then when you get offensive on him, his time and his wrestling level changes are so good, and I feel like he's going to be able to take Cory down and or have Cory second-guessing when he wants to be offensive, and that's going to make the striking like 50-50, and then it only needs, one or a couple of takedowns for Umar to win the fight. So I kind of lean Umar to win this one via decision. Like I said, though, I think the plus 250, there's some value there on Sandhagen, so we'll see how Sandhagen performs, but I'm going to go with Umar via decision in the main event. So there you have it, guys. That's my full card breakdown and predictions video for UFC UAE. And I believe that it's a good card. I think there's some spots where you can get some nice underdog value. And as far as my parlay of the week this week, the parlay that I'll give you guys is a parlay with Cedricus Dumis and Victoria Dudakova. So that'll be the parlay of the week. For my most confident pick, I'll say... Man, that's a tough one for my most confident pick. I guess I'll give you guys an underdog instead of a most confident pick. For my underdog of the week, I'll say go with Michał Oleksiejczuk. I think he's a good bet. I think he has good value. So go with him, and you'll potentially be able to make some good money this weekend. So besides that, man, patreon.com/prediction-guru. There's a lot of events this week. PFL is going on. There's Fury FC, LFA. So quite a few events. And check that out, patreon.com/MMA-prediction-guru. Go to that website, sign up, and get access to a lot of great content over there. And I got a couple bets already for this UFC fight card, so definitely check that out on patreon.com/MMAPredictionGuru. I appreciate everyone that goes over, signs up, helps support the channel, and help support the channel in other ways as well by hitting that like button on this video, commenting down below. And besides that, man, I'll be back on Friday talking to you guys again at that live stream. Remember to show up support, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'll talk to you guys soon, man. I'll be back do another breakdown predictions next week.